to throw the debate open to the floor, but I understand there is an amendment being moved by the opposition, in which case I ask Councillor Stephen Muller-Toll to move the amendment formally. And is that seconded? It is by Councillor Griggs. In which case, Councillor Muller-Toll, can I ask you to make your speech at a limit of 10 minutes, please?
I can promise you, Chair, that I won't be using the entire 10 minutes. The Chamber will be happy to know. Thank you very much, Chair. And can I just put on my record my thanks to the Section 151 officer for their time and their team's time in helping us form this small amendment to the budget. I was interested in your prayer at the start of the meeting about focusing on the needs of the community, and I genuinely believe this amendment does do that. So it was interesting that that was at the start. This amendment is very simple. In September last year, this council moved to increase councillor allowances by an astronomical amount from where they were previously. It's quite weird. I was looking back to 2017 when Labour were in administration, and we moved a very minuscule 5% rise across all levels. And Councillor Charles in that meeting called the allowances extravagant. It's public record, it's out there. It's weird that in September meeting, he would vote for a 300% increase in the leader's allowance and a 100% increase in councillor base allowance if that was extravagant back then. That September meeting was a farce. There was no debate. They used a quirk in the Constitution to force it straight to a vote. That has never been seen before in this chamber, and it should never have happened. It is taxpayers' money that is, and it wasn't debated. And the fact is, I commend two of the administration who actually voted against the proposal. And it actually came down to the chair's casting vote. Now, this amendment will reset the allowances back to the pre-September rate. That will save this council £552,000 over the next 3 years. Over £500,000, instead of going into our pockets, I am suggesting goes into helping our communities that we represent. £74,000 a year will go to additional policing in our high street and town centre and our hatches, and £110,000 a year will be divided 11 ways, 11 pots of 10,000 that can be spent in each and every one of our wards. So when we are out door knocking and our residents are saying, this thing is annoying me and it's a small quick fix, we can use that pot for it. It could also be used for community events like the Bush Fair and the old Harlow lights at Christmas. This is what these pots are intended for. Now, I've covered why September was a hypocrisy. Let me just head off a couple of arguments I think some of the administration are going to try and make. They're going to try and claim hypocrisy. They're going to say that the Labour group are still taking the higher allowances that came through. I would let that have some water if we weren't bringing the amendment today. But at the first opportunity to reverse this decision when it's in black and white and £552,000 over the 3 years, this Labour group are voting to axe it again. And strangely, the quirk of it, the largest recipient of the highest pay rise is sat right here at over 500%, and he's seconding this amendment to reverse that pay rise. And then finally, I get to rehash all the things I was going to discuss in September, but this time at least we get to have the debate. They might say that this was an independent review that came back and suggested we raise councillor allowances. Hogwash. The pay scheme put forward by the administration almost doubled the amount of what the independent review said it should raise by. It's hypocrisy of its greatest scale. They say it's an independent review, they ignore it, they double the amounts and they give themselves a big pay rise. It's quite simple. Cut councillor allowances, 500 grand back to the community over 3 years, I move.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Griggs, you have formally seconded this. You have the chance to speak now or reserve your right. Thank you very much. You will reserve. in which case we throw open the debate. I need to remind members that 15.9.b gives Councillor Swords only one chance to speak on the amendment, which is to wrap the amendment debate up before the vote, and that because of the legislation introduced by a previous Secretary of State, the vote on the amendment will be by a named vote. So I throw open the floor. Who wants to start the debate on the amendment? Councillor Ingle, you wanted to raise under 10.17. Do you want to ask questions now?
Not at this stage, thank you, Chair.
I question why you were so urgent to ask earlier on then, but I will move on.
I felt that the Leader of the Council may have been inadvertently misleading the Chamber, but I'll deal with that later in the debate. Thank you.
Okay, do you wish to speak then? Not at this stage. Not at this stage. Okay, there being no one else showing... Councillor Durkin wishes to speak.
Of course. Sorry. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and I think there's probably about half a dozen of us in this room still that remembers when we introduced the £10,000 for each area a number of years ago, and that was successful in part. I know there was a lot of initiatives done in the old Harlow area, and this is why I like this idea, because it's actually bringing monies, vital monies, back to our local communities. It's not our money, and actually as councillors we need to organise some terms of reference that we have to consult with our communities about the best use of this vital money. This isn't about a glorified councillor just throwing the money away. It's working with charities, with churches, with organisations and with businesses to find the right ways. Now that may well be that we can have soup evenings where we can actually get different companies to do bids, or charities, and then the local community can vote on those. What's really important is it's got to be owned by the local community. It has to feel that it's about them. And we know that the difficulty is that we have lost, all councillors have lost credibility out in our community. Less and less people are no longer bothered about local government. Look how many people don't bother to vote. So this is actually a unique opportunity and a new way of engaging and making a visible difference. Whether or not it's benches, whether or not it's about new green areas, whether or not it's sponsoring sports activities, it doesn't matter. But surely as councillors, if we can have the gumption to actually go out there and get people engaged, then that would be a benefit. And finally, I also welcome, as a councillor for the town centre, any additions that can be brought forward to make the town a safer and healthier place to work and to play. We know businesses would welcome that. We also know that visitors, which is crucially important to bring the money into the town, would welcome that safety and security. And local residents would want to see more people out and about, engaging with people, listening to what the issues are and making a difference. So with the amendment, I think it's a brilliant idea. I hope the others will be bright enough, open enough and aware that this could make the difference. And I'm grateful for giving the opportunity to speak. Do you know, I've been looking at you, Sue, rather than Andrew. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin. The next person I saw hand raised was Councillor Kay Morrison.
Thank you very much, Chair. Most councillors stand for selection and election because they want to give possibly back to their communities. They give people a voice in fixing concerns, addressing problems, often, but not always, making a real difference to the quality of their lives. And we would like to have a bit more flexibility in decisions about spending in our areas. By we, obviously, I mean the splendid Bush Fair councillors, obviously. Especially if we've become aware that there is a need for a particular initiative in our area. Maybe we could pay for the installation of road signs at Bush Fair shops. Clive? Something I have been promised, I think, for around about 2 years, so 2 solid years. Clive, we won't forget, will we, Clive? And there are lots of other things. The Bush Fair Fete or Fair is another idea. But what we could certainly do, and this has been mentioned by, I think, Councillor Durkin, we could ask people what they want. We could ask the people, the residents of Bush Fair, how would you like the money to be spent? And that would be beautifully democratic, wouldn't it? It would be absolutely splendid. And of course, a contribution towards an additional police officer, another PCSO would be, I know it would be welcomed by Bush Fair residents. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So if we had a little money, I'm not going to sing it. I won't do that to you. In any case, I hope that you will support the proposal. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I'm sure that you agree, and I'm sure you'll vote with us. Of course you will. So we could describe this as local money for local people without picking the public pocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kay Morrison. The next person I could see indicating was Councillor James Leppard.
Thank you,
And
Chair.
then Councillor Ingle. Councillor O'Dell.
Thank you, Chair. This is a welcome amendment and really does put Harlow residents first. If this council truly believes in its motto that it's for Harlow people, then why don't we put our money where our mouths are and put our interests of Harlow residents first? Simple.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dell. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Chair. I support the amendment. In fact, I'm looking forward to it so much that in my head I'm already looking forward to spending the money saved in Bush Fair, including, as Councillor Kay Morrison said, signage for Bush Fair, maybe a bit of parking. On a purely personal level, possibly a bench in Nicholsfield, and it's to be hoped that the Chair never feels, as I do, in needing a sit-down after a long canvassing or leafleting session. Totally egotistical, that one. I know that some members opposite may agree with the amendment, and I would appeal to them to vote for targeted investment in their wards.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dunn, and thank you for inquiring after my health on the street. Councillor Mark Ingle.
Thank you, Chair. This isn't the first time that the council went to an outside body for recommendations about remuneration. You were the leader of the opposition at the time, I was the leader of the council at the time. And you will remember that the statutory, well, not the statutory, the body that made the recommendations recommended a certain figure, and this side said that's more than than we should be paid. And we actually, I think, if memory serves, came in at half the increase that was recommended. So I find it extraordinary to hear that the body that Councillor Swords has referred to recommended a figure, and the proposal for the increase was double that. And I think that's a really stark difference.
Point of order, Chair, to make a point of personal clarification.
Sorry, point of order. What are you raising? Can I help you with a number? I should ask you for the number, but I'll advise, and all members can know. I've said this before. It's 15.13 or 15.13A. A personal explanation. A councillor may make a personal explanation if they believe a material part of an earlier speech has been misunderstood. Can I ask you to clarify what you think has been misunderstood?
Thank you, Chair. I made no references to allowances whatsoever in my speech. I made no references whatsoever to any independent body, so Councillor Ingle will correct what is.
Thank you very much for the personal explanation. I return to Councillor Ingle.
Very happy to do that, Chair, but I think the point stands that a recommendation was made to the council. We halved that recommended increase when we were in power. They doubled it. And that money could be spent on projects for the town rather than going into the pockets of councillors, particularly the pockets of the leader. Thank you.